Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast with Blaha. And today we're having Greek yogurt, almond butter, frozen blueberries. Alright, today let's talk about post-workout nutrition. Topic that's been way overplayed, that most of the research shows isn't even remotely as important as people think it is. And we're talking about research on trained lifters, not just novices. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all, saying that it matters only in context-specific scenarios. And to be quite frankly, or to be honest, sorry guys, I can't talk today. To be perfectly honest, the overwhelming majority of you are simply not training hard enough for it to matter in any meaningful way. And people don't want to hear that. They're like, well, I come in and do this. You work out once a day. Exactly. Again, people will argue, but that is training hard. Now, you come in and you do 15 work sets in a workout total. That's all you do. 15 really hard work sets in an hour, hour and a half, and you go home. No, that's not training hard enough to really be overly concerned with it. It just isn't. And I'm not saying you're not training hard. You're not training hard enough. You're not doing hours of conditioning work later. You're doing one-a-days. Post-workout nutrition doesn't matter. Not really. Where it matters, people who train fasted. It matters in that context. But we come over to the other point of, I've seen that when you point that out to people that all this research on post-workout protein was done on people who trained completely fasted, they then go, oh, well, maybe I should train fasted to get the benefits of the post-workout recovery shake. Think about that for a minute. You're going to do something that's going to intentionally cause you to gain less muscle. Inferior training stimulus. And it's inferior any way you break it down. Fasted training stimulates less muscle growth. Okay? Less muscle growth is stimulated usually. If you're using it for cardio, it burns less fat. This is not my opinion. This is the opinion of leading researchers. Okay? It's their opinion. They may know a little bit more about it than we do. Maybe. Not guaranteed. They might. That's what they're finding. So all you're doing at that point is trying to mitigate the losses. In other words, you did something stupid. You trained fasted, right? You trained fasted, and you're trying to offset the negatives of it. That's what you're doing. That's not worth it. But in theory, people who are training fasted, sure, it's going to matter a lot more for them. Okay? And that's the protein end. What about the glucose end? You would say, what about glycogen replenishment? Well, that matters. That matters if you're doing 2-a-days. Well, what do we mean there? Let's say you work out. And I've been known to do it this way. I'm trying not to. But I'm trying to do my sled drags before I train. But that's a 2-a-day, isn't it? It's a 2-a-day. So what I usually do, in my case, I'm not doing the sled drags fasted. A lot of my training days might look like I get a meal like this in the morning. I go back to bed because I like to get some work done, then I like to sleep. Sleep a couple hours, get up. I've got food in me still from this. Go drag my sled. That's the question, how many calories did I burn dragging a sled? I don't know, 100 calories. Maybe 200. How much glycogen did I really lose? Let's say the EPOC and the breathing and everything else takes me up to 200 calories. Say I only burned 100 calories during the actual sled drags of glycogen. Okay, so if I need 25 grams of carbohydrate, I usually eat a small meal, 400 calories or so. right? Get an hour or so to let it all soak in, rest for a minute, get a little work done on my computer, then I train. I don't ever do this on max effort lower days, by the way. So we do something like that. So yeah, in that case, a little bit of food matters. But I walked into it with food already. So do I even necessarily need to guarantee the 25 gram of carbohydrate? Well, no, because I'm getting some of it from this yogurt and blueberries already that are still absorbing. Right? This is slow absorbing. I'm still getting this. I'm digesting this. Oh, you get a little more in. Right? How much do we really need there, though? Again, we're not burning that much in something like that. You know, it's my sled drag. I bet you I'm only going through 100 calories of glycogen from my muscles. That's being replenished pretty easy. 25 grams of carbs is not hard to get. I don't eat many carbs right now. I eat enough to fuel my training. Right? So I get, 120, 140, maybe 150 grams a day. I'm eating a lot more fat. Healthy fats, though. And then post-workout, okay, let's say I'm burning through more, right? Let's say I burn through 200 calories of glycogen from my training. Well, if I'm not going to really train again until tomorrow, because anything else I do is going to be, walking to the store with a backpack, going to be very low intensity. Probably burning mostly fat for a fuel source. I'm not burning through carbohydrate. Do I need a bunch of glycogen for that? Probably not. So if through the rest of the day, let's say that as long as between then and bedtime, I get 50 grams of carbohydrate. Anytime between there, have I replenished my glycogen? Of course we have. So are we saying it doesn't matter? No, it matters, because I'm going to need those glycogen stores back up to a good spot before I do the sled drags the next morning. But the thing is, we're still absorbing a lot of this food. And then all the slower absorbing protein I get from all the yogurt, because I do this for most of my protein, other than red meat. I like lean beef on top of it. I don't eat that every day. How much of this is converting to glycogen? Some of it. So if I'm doing that with 2 a day, am I having problems with it? No. Now, do people who lift weights and then do very intense long bouts of conditioning afterwards? Okay, what if you're going to go do an hour of fairly moderate, okay, fairly moderate intensity, can't be super high intensity. You're going to go do some mild GPP for an hour after you lift. Well, then getting more carbs in probably matters, right? And a person who's doing that needs more carbohydrate in their diet. They need to replenish that between the 2 sessions. But here's what we find. And that's what I mean by training hard. Someone who's training hard might come in and lift for 2 hours. Later that day, they do an hour of conditioning work. Okay. Now they're training hard. Or they go do an hour, 2 hours of sports practice. Right? Let's say they play American football. Let's say they do BJJ. They're going to go roll for 2 hours. This person's training hard. Okay, they're not just lifting weights. They're training hard. They're training all the way around. Their glycogen matters. Their carbohydrate intake through the day will matter. They will need carbohydrate before the first training session, in between to replenish. Keeping in mind that you're not burning that much. You're not burning 200 grams of carbohydrate in a weightlifting session, though. Right? And then they'll probably need some after the other, because they're going to get up and train again the next day. As long as you are replenishing your glycogen between training, you are fine. All right, that's the key thing. The only other people this might matter more for is going to be peri-workout for endurance athletes. Because they sometimes need to replenish carbohydrate in the middle of what they're doing. And they need a lot of fat in their diet also. But again, these are people who are doing hours and hours. Hours and hours. Outside of those sort of contexts, as long as you are replenishing your glycogen and you're getting, 3 good-sized protein feedings throughout the day, but replenishing your glycogen between training sessions. If they're 24 hours apart, that's not hard to do. You just eat your normal food. As long as you're achieving those things, you're pretty much optimal with your timing. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.